I want you to see how small this Kindle is by putting it closer to me. And because when you see it, usually when I first show it, it looks as big as the screen. And this way you can see it a little bit more of a normal size. And this is just the cover. And this is showing the page that I left off on the last video. Actually, you won't recognize anything there because the top of the page is the beginning of the line after the last one that I read yesterday. I showed a little bit about what the Kindle does yesterday, and I had thought I might actually same day here, but I'm still in the same afternoon of when I did the previous reading. And I'm trying to remember, I think it was 22, and this would be 23. I sure hope I'm right, because if not, I might have to redo them. And so, I think I'll just go on, and if I remember what it was I was going to say about the Kindle, maybe I'll do it in the middle or at the end. Okay, when I left off in the last reading, trying to bait you into wanting the next part. I'll just repeat that last paragraph. I decided the other day what I'm going to call evil. I told Tom what it was. We were having lunch at Wendy's. He suggested that this idea of evil would be a good ending for the book. And in fact, I had in mind to save that enlightenment for the end of the book. But it fits in now, so what the heck. It's in the idea of having only one option, and having it be one you don't like. Evil is having blow dryers only, no option of paper towels in public restrooms. Now, and aside from 2012, and today is January 24th, Tuesday. Have you noticed that this was written in 1994? Have you noticed that now most restrooms have choice of blow dryers or hand towels? You think this book doesn't have any power and there's no mind over matter? Oh yeah, this is really kind of a joke, but I don't know. It's kind of interesting. And you think I was making a joke here? Yes, but it also is symbolic of quite a bit. And I think it's pretty good symbolism. You might even call it a metaphor, if you're of a mind to be literary. Of course, I never know for sure how to make a legal metaphor, so. Anyway, back to the book. Evil is having blow dryers only, no option of paper towels in public restrooms. I don't mind having both dryers and towels. That way people have a choice. Standing around whistling Dixie, drip drying, clapping their hands while they have better things to do, or a quick wipe with a towel and on their ways to bigger and better things. Don't forget things. The basis and rewards of physical reality, as if we could forget them. Granted, we forget a lot, but we can't forget physical reality. Right now we're stuck with it and in it. You'd think Herman would have called. This book is so good, if he read it, he would have called. It takes too much time to write when you've got something this hot. He has to see it, but to do that, he has to read it. Come on, Herman. Come on. Your cue won't last forever, you know. I'm having a hell of a time holding it. There's Tom. He just drove by my window, down on the gravel road below, in his tumbleweed blue International truck. I love that truck, and him. I had a dream about the truck last night. I'll tell you about it, but not now. I'm going to run downstairs and see what Tom's up to. Asterisk, and then the new sentence. I'm back from writing my preface. Interesting timing, huh? How's the detective on my shoulder? Your wings are showing. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and reread or read the preface. Now's a good time if you haven't read it. It's entertaining as well as significant. Go ahead. We'll wait. In the meantime, I'll get my goads together. I've gathered so many, they'll finish this book and maybe several others. It took a week to write and revise my preface. And during that time, UC and I, capital U, capital C, had several communications about future chapters. Before that, Tom and I had some relevant conversations over breakfast at the Capri. It's now called Two Sisters. In 2012, and I have posted some photographs of that cafe on my Facebook wall. It was a while back, and one of the pictures had a beautiful flag hanging from the rafters of a ceiling that is a high peak of like a log cabin. Go ahead, we'll wait. In the meantime, I'll get my goats together. I've gathered so many, they'll finish this book and maybe several others. It took a week to write and revise my preface, and during that time UC and I had several communications about future chapters. Before that, Tom and I had some relevant conversations over breakfast at the Capri. It got itself into my way all right, providing a great setting for cultivating more goads. Just what I needed. I probably have 13 by now, or more. 13s are fascinating. Boy, does that statement open up a can of worms. My Easy Way to Cashmere class focused on the significance and use of 13. Oh shit. Excuse me, but I just dropped my piece of toast on the floor. Greasy crumbs everywhere. I'll clean it up later. I think I'll go back to the preface for another review, then print out a hard copy. Once I feel complete with that, maybe I'll be able to move on here with less hurry or you'll lose it anxiety. I've been having a hell of a time keeping that qualm at bay, especially with whole books in my head ahead of time. As you know, this is unusual for a writer who likes to stay on the edge of the unknown, as she makes it known. I also have revisions to do in this chapter as well as 12. And I've begun writing the last chapter for Molasses Moon. It came to me right after the major thrust of the preface was captured on the file folder in which I keep my working copy of this manuscript. Tom and I were in Colorado Springs, and since I didn't have Gemstar with me, it's not portable. I had to write the ideas in pencil on whatever was available. Since the file and its folder are glued to me, I knew I wouldn't lose the notes. Haven't heard from Jeff Herman yet. Maybe I'll be finished with the preface review and printout, and mail him a copy before he begins reading what he has now. Or maybe I should wait to read his response to what he has first. I've had no responses from manuscript readers or query recipients. As of today, March 29th, at 10 in the morning. I'm making progress. 10 o'clock didn't get a rise out of me. It's not too early or too late. It's just 10 o'clock. I haven't checked the mail today. It's snowing sideways outside, so I'm not in a rush to get to the post office. It's cold in this attic. I can run my mini portable electric heater for only a few minutes at a time, since everything in here is plugged into one extension cord, which plugs into a light socket hanging from the low ceiling. When the socket gets hot enough to smell, I turn off the heater. This isn't a bad situation really, since most days the sun shows its face. That's all this room needs to warm up. But today the sun's behind a thick blanket of white clouds. Guess who was on Star Trek yesterday at 4 o'clock? Yes, it was Q. The episode in which he made Picard play Robin Hood. There are lots of parallels between Roddenberry's ideas in his Q continuum and my ideas here. I'll have to get around to explaining more about my Q-based time particle. You'll see the parallels then. I really don't know what to do first. My Q's seem to be mixed up, or they're piling up so fast I can't keep up. Oh well, one Q at a time. First the preface review and printout. I'll probably be lucky to get that done today. Maybe jumping from making revisions on previous chapters to adding bits to this one to working on the last chapter will work until I get the backlog of Q's in order. Each one will have to take its turn. Taking turns. That's an important concept too. Alternating one type of activity with a different type of activity is a technique I taught in my Easy Way class. Alternating isn't exactly the same as taking turns, but it's close, as is taking a break, another technique used in a new light in my mind charging class. Maybe I'll give you one more technique from the Easy Way before I take off to my preface. The fear/no response. It's simple. When a fear pops into your head, you say no. It's your choice, but you have to know it's your choice. And you have to make it. That's what most people forget. They get mad if a program like EST comes along and tells them they chose their reality, including whatever mess they're in. EST didn't make a few things clear. Like most of us don't know we have such choices, nor do we know when or how to make them. It seems unfair to be playing a game when all the rules weren't given, huh? Or if they were given, something has stolen and hidden them. Maybe it's the same something that's trying to turn down the fire of life. Or maybe it's the process of turning down the fire that makes us forget. Interesting, this little Kindle Fire from now going into the past. Or maybe it's the process of turning down the fire that makes us forget. Well, I'm remembering you now. I have to remind myself often too. Or I'm reminding you now. Have to remind myself often too. I'm reminding us. We have choices. When a bad thought comes to mind, just say no. I made up my fear/no response before they made up the just say no in quotes response to drugs. If you were in my mind like you see, you'd hear no a lot. No, no, no. I won't lose my goads. They're too valuable. Besides, they're prickly. Like goat heads. You can't ignore them once they get into you. Now, before I leave you with the fear/no idea, I'll say that there's more to it than this. You can imagine or daydream a positive replacement for the fear you're rejecting. This isn't necessary, but it's sometimes fun and helpful to convince you the fear has truly been banished from any magnetic field which might attract it to reality. Of course, my class/lecture, The Easy Way to Cashmere, goes into more detail about all the techniques I've mentioned, and more. Hopefully I'll get that lecture professionally recorded one day and transcribed into a book. But since it is a whole book, I can't go into it anymore here. There. That's one goad taken care of. Now, the preface. Damn, I'm already near the end of this chapter, and I haven't gotten back into the cues yet. Or the dream about our tumbleweed truck. Oh well. You'll just have to bear with me as I continue piecemealing this book together, changing methods and bases as I go. Yeah. Bases. Especially changing them. That's an important goad, too. I'd better end this chapter here now on page 10. By the time I review and revise, I'll probably grow more pages. It'll probably grow more pages. I love the insert capacity in my TimeWorks WordWriter program, but I have to be careful. It was that capacity that I went crazy with in Morning Comes and temporarily turned Tom off my writing. I think it had to do with having to reread something over and over with only minor changes. He hates to repeat anything. He's been taught the hard way to get things right the first time. Working in coal mines and with heavy machinery, if you don't get it right the first time, you may not be there for another chance. Or second or third thoughts either. My line of work doesn't pay well, but it's forgiving. It's a good thing because I almost never get it right the first time. This is probably why I'm a writer and he's a heavy equipment mechanic. Oh, yeah. And he doesn't like me changing bases, like I do sometimes in my insert revisions. He hates me shifting bases like a tap dancer. In his work, it's important to keep a solid footing. You don't dance around heavy machinery. Fast-footing, fancy step maneuvers. So much for reviewing the preface next. Tom just drove up. I'm going downstairs to see what he's up to. Chapter 14. Oh, solo mio, more goads. Now I know why I skipped to the last chapter instead of coming here. All I have here are goads. There, I was still on the edge of the unknown. But if I don't dive into the goads and get rid of them, no one will do it for me. UC might, but he's me anyway, as we know. Pause, or shall I read it a little bit more? Maybe a couple more lines. So where to begin? The Q continuum? My Capri conversations with Tom? My chemistry professor? Mom's response to reading through page 19. Lonnie's written response. Mind spinners too busy for qualms. That little thing that sounded like a fish flopping out of water. That's the sound I have on my cell phone that tells me a new email has arrived. That's me from 2012. Now back into the book just for a minute and we'll quit this day. Legally strangled producers don't quit. They get down to bare bones, skeletal levels of purpose. And bootleg? That was another code in my list. Making do scarcity management. Why how-tos and romance are good for stall time. Now this page goes on down with my list of codes, and I think I will pause here because I probably should start reading them again from the top next time. That might be a good way to weave this video into the next one, or the next one into this one, however you want to look at it. I think this was a good day, and this is a good finish for now. We'll see what comes up next. Here's a little bit of a look. Yeah, I don't know what to say this time to sign off. It'd be interesting to know what you're thinking, and you could tell me what to say. Reaching through time, reaching through space. Did you know a lot of these techniques here, including what I'm doing now, are called mise en abîme, which is a French term for having windows within windows within windows, or mirrors within mirrors, or you have a story within a story within a story. I didn't even really know I was doing this technique, but I do now, and the more I read it with an understanding of that technique, the more amazed I am. So, you and me, my reader and me, are really making a perfect mise en abîme. And we'll see you next time.